John, I'm not even going to bother saying the words.
If you don't know, if you don't say them, I'm
not even going to bother.
Know what you're talking about. Oh, those words.
We're back. No, the words of the intro. I'm not going to fucking bother. I've decided over Christmas I don't like intros.
I mean, you're assuming that everyone knows who you are. Billy Big fucking Balls. Look at me. I live in a villa in Bali. Fucking hell. But have you told people? I don't know. I've got no idea what the...
If you want to do it, you crack on.
Do you really think I'll listen to you? Seriously.
I know you do.
You're fucking self-aggrandizing.
Well, with the fact that we're having a conversation now.
Connor opens his mouth, no one listens. You know that, don't you? Billy Big Balls CEO.
That's true. That is kind of the story of my life.
So, for the people who are new to the podcast, or indeed have kind of forgot all about us because we haven't done the podcast for a while, which is entirely Connor's fault because he's the CEO and everything's his responsibility. But it really is his fault because what has he done? He's moved to Bali, haven't you? And tell people where you live in, Connor, this fuck-off great big mansion.
I have. It's rather shameful.
You're living in a big mansion, aren't you? Yeah? And you got your own swimming pool? True? Yeah. What are the neighbours like, mate? What are the neighbouring properties like?
This is why it's shameful.
Tell the people.
I've never understood when, and I'm sure you've seen this. I'm sure you have. Everyone has. When you see fuckwits going, "Oh, I'm so ashamed to be white because of the racism and persecution with the privilege we hold," and I've always looked at that and gone, "You're pathetic," and I still hold that view. However, when I discovered that our rather lovely villa is surrounded by locals, and this is a third world country that I'm in, I did feel the pang of, I feel like a right.
Wrong, really, aren't you? To be fair, you are a right cunt. It's so bad, listeners and watchers. It's so
I am.
He's been there about a month now. It's a month today, isn't it? You left the UK. Yeah. He's been there a month, and I still haven't had any photographs or any video walkthroughs of his house or the neighbourhood. But at least he's keeping with his routine because, fitness and stuff. Because you're going to the gym, ain't you, Connor? Why are you going to the gym?
Nope. Why don't you tell them, because you get way more favour.
Because Connor's local gym is on the corner. It's just a stone's throw away, but unfortunately it's full of overweight Indonesian homos. It's a fucking gay gym. I mean, only you would choose to live in a fucking mansion in the middle of a slum with the fucking homo gym on the corner.
Did I tell you about the Google reviews Tamsin read?
No, no, but I want to see them myself.
Okay, guess what's in the changing room?
Apart from a load of naked gay men, I can't imagine. Condom machine, lube dispenser.
If I were to tell you there's cubicles in
jewelry hole
rooms, where does your mind go next?
Oh my fucking God.
Ding, ding, ding.
Oh my word. I thought this was a God-fearing country. What I thought as well. I mean, isn't it mostly Muslim over there? Hindu. Oh, it's okay.
Hindu.
Different parts of Indonesia. Because certainly in Islam, homosexuality is like, isn't like punishable by death or something completely fucking unreasonable and irrational.
It's definitely illegal, I'm pretty sure, over here to be a homosexual. I have had to show Tamsin tits a few times to go, no, it's a woman, to get the police off our back.
I can't tell if you were joking or not. Oh, right, okay.
I am joking. Of course I'm joking. Tamsin does not know.
That's what I was thinking. I was like,
a bloke.
Tamsin's a very attractive blonde lady. It doesn't I've met her a couple of times, doesn't look in the slightest bit man-like. But having said that, who am I to fucking assume gender? You know?
Yeah. Who are you?
That's what gets me right. These fucking woke people start off by criticising me as being a middle-aged white male. And I immediately say, so you're assuming my gender right away, are you? And they get all fucking screwed up face. Just fucking caught them with their own trap, you know? So anyway,
Yeah.
we have basically let ourselves down terribly in the last month because we had these big plans to do a lot in December, and in the end we actually did very little. And over Christmas itself, just after Christmas, I had COVID, and it really knocked me fucking flat. I mean, it wasn't like I'm on deathbed or anything, but I was just so tired and lost my fucking sense of smell, which is really bad because I enjoy my morning shit, and when you can't smell it, it's really bad, you know, because you're proud of it. Yeah, this is mine, you know.
I bet you enjoy tasting it too. I bet you enjoy tasting it too.
Stir it into your fucking...
Oh, yeah. Stir the package all the way to Indonesia.
So our plans over Christmas, but we've hit the new year, you know, with our feet on the ground, running 10 to the dozen, 19 to the dozen, because we've got big plans for the year. And I know it's probably quite trendy at this time of year. Well, the 18th of January, probably next Monday is like to be Blue Monday, which I suppose is the most miserable fucking day of the year. You lived with me, you'd realise that every day is a fucking miserable day, I tell you, because I make it so. But now people are starting me, oh, I bet you've stopped your New Year's resolutions if you ever made them and if you ever kept to them at all. But I think it is worthwhile right now looking at what you have got planned for the next year. Because I know it's fucking arbitrary. It's just, 12 months to 12 months. You can start any time you like. But I think it's true. Now would be a good time for reflection for everybody. And I say that because the world is going to hell in a handbasket. I know this is the best time in history to be alive. We've probably got the greatest expectation for life expectancy, certainly in the Western world. Food is still cheap and plentiful, really. Most of us have got running water. Most of us have got hot running water, so not just running water, but it's hot as well. Electricity piped into the house, gas, whatever. But there's no denying there's a lot of shit going on in the world. And I think we're going to face some pretty fucking tough challenges in the next 2 or 3 years. And possibly longer, because I know there are climate change deniers out there, which is pretty silly because it's fairly obvious the climate is changing, I think. Whether or not it's caused by man is kind of moot. Doesn't really matter. The fact is, it is changing, it seems. And like Australia has already got fucking massive wildfires, and it's quite early in the summer. There's droughts all over the world. These have knock-on effects on the economy. We've got fucking humongous war in Ukraine still. We've got what promised to be an even more humongous war in the Middle East. Gaza has been flattened into a pile of Lego bricks. You've seen that meme? I'll send it.
I have.
It's sad but hilarious. And none of this seems to be getting any better. And the conflict in Israel seems to be expanding now, doesn't it? We've got Syria, we've got Iran, we've got Iraq dropping things on each other. I mean, Iran and Iraq were at war 30 odd years ago, and we don't want to see that again. And
definitely not.
We are quite likely in recession or heading that way.
We are heading that way. I'm pretty sure. The effects of COVID, and people don't like hearing it, they're still lingering.
So, with all that in mind, and even if that's not true, even if that stuff is just, tinfoil hat conspiracy stuff, fine. Even if that's not true, doesn't it make sense to sit down and think about your business and make a plan for the next year? Because otherwise, what you're going to do, just the same as you did. Now, if you do the same this year as you did last year, broadly speaking, you'll get the same results. Now, if you're happy with that, fine. But most people aren't, because if you were, you wouldn't be listening to this fucking podcast about it, improving it. What are you, moron? But it's true.
I don't know. There's a couple of people that listen to this purely for the comedy factor.
But if that's not you, if you're listening to this because you like business info, even if you say to yourself, yeah, I don't need to improve, why are you listening to it? If you recognise that improvement's possible, if you don't want to improve, why are you bothering to listen to it? I'm open to the idea. Oh, great. I'm open to this idea too. Sit down, make a fucking plan for the next year, 2024. Hey, you might be dead by the end of it. You don't spend the last 12 months of your life doing nothing, do you? What actually do?
I think you could argue as well, if you haven't got a plan to improve even slightly in your plan and to just maintain, requires improvement.
Because of inflation, nothing else.
If nothing else, because of inflation. But if our fear-mongering, our FUD...
I didn't hear any of that because you got slow and mushy. Say again.
If we are just fear-mongering and we are spreading FUD, in January, everyone's naturally a little bit reflective anyway. And John's been talking about a specific question that we're going to pose to all of you. How long have you been talking about this question, John?
At least 20 years.
Bloody hell, I didn't think it was that long. John doesn't take credit for inventing it. He can't credit the source because he's old and he forgot. But it's called the miracle question. And if you are inside our Well-Fed Renegades group, which means you have got yourself a copy of M82, we've either given you it for free or you forward out your own cold, hard-earned cash, we'd like to see your answers to it inside the Well-Fed Renegades group. So, John, give these inquisitive people the question if they are setting themselves up.
It's a dead simple question to ask. And at first blush, it can be simple to answer. So I want to say a few things about it first. If you find it really easy to answer and you just give a one-liner, with one caveat I will come to, I would say it's almost like you've not given it sufficient thought. Now, sometimes people won't think about it because they're not really that interested in answering it. Fine. But I think most likely some people don't think about it deeply because they're afraid to. You know? Most people are... this isn't bullshit kind of coach speak. I don't like coaches very much for the most part. But I think it's generally true. Most people will not deeply examine their existing beliefs and commitments and attitudes because they're afraid of what they might find. Because you imagine if you examine your values critically and honestly with integrity and courage, and you find that, say, your romantic partner, maybe your wife or husband, isn't actually sharing your values and is therefore perhaps not someone you want to be with if you could go back in time. You kid yourself you're happy with these people. What does that then mean? You either continue in an unhappy relationship or a relationship you're only kidding yourself you're happy, or you do something to change it and maybe risk losing it. I mean, these are big questions. And they're questions most people will not answer. Not can't, they won't. They won't even revisit it. They'll just say, of course I do. Of course I'm happy. Of course I'm okay. Yeah, it could be better, but couldn't every relationship? Well, that's a really fucking meaningful answer, that is. That tells me a lot when people say that. And it's not superficial. So bear in mind, this question requires a lot of deep thought. And when I ask it, and I ask it one-on-one with people, I ask it in Core Control as part of the program, and sometimes I ask it publicly in an email to my list and get answers. I tend to get two kinds of answers. One is the short, glib answer, which is almost always exactly as it seems. It's superficial. They've not thought about it, but they don't think about it. They don't want to think about it. With a few exceptions, which the first one came to me with one of our clients. And he says, what if his answer was stillness? Now, there would be stillness. Well, that's deep. So you can have a very short, deep, meaningful, profound answer. And that is the one exception when the short answer is probably okay. And when I say okay, I mean it means you've put some thought into it. But mostly, people who answer this question properly and with deep thought, they give me a lot of detail. And we're talking of pages and pages sometimes. It's real quite emotional stuff. So just bear that in mind. Now, the question itself then is this. You imagine you woke up one morning. Maybe you got into your office, because you can use it in your personal life as well. You got into your office or got into your kitchen or whatever. and there'd been a miracle overnight. God had smiled upon you, waved his magic fucking wand or something. There'd been this miracle, and your life and your business were perfect. How would you know? It's as simple as that. Now, if you find yourself tempted to say, I would have things, again, it's a little bit superficial because you might not agree with me here, but I guarantee I'm right and you're not. Things do not make you happy. Okay? You might think they do, but they really don't. I mean, I can't say there's not a single person out there who's not happy because they possess something. I would contend everyone I've ever met, when they do possess what they think makes them happy, it's never enough. They want more. Whether that's like money, property, influence, if it's something more abstract, or indeed a person. If they possess a person in the loose sense of the word, maybe they've some kind of narcissistic person, they manipulate and own this person. Simply having that person in their life is not enough. They then want control of that person. And the control is never enough. So if what you desire is an external thing, if the how I would know this is an external, I think you need to do some more work on yourself. And you really need to think about your answer. You will know the answer is the right one for you when it's really deep and meaningful to you. Okay? I strongly suggest everybody does that question, answers that question, does that exercise. And if you're brave enough, share the answer with us in the group. Well-fed Renegades, Call Control. Yeah, but they might
Well-fed Renegades.
Call Control as well. It's an incredibly powerful question. Like I say, I've been in it for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I've had all sorts of answers. I've had people cry and I've asked it of them one-on-one. Pussies.
To be clear, you don't have to post the whole essay that you may or may not write. You can just give us the snippets that you want to share. It's completely up to you.
But you'd all choose
to do nothing at all, but that would be a great shame.
Johnny boy.
So, Johnny boy. ABG. Because obviously everybody who listens to this, top 1% of podcasts, everyone who listens to this are going to do exactly as they're told because they're all pliable, obedient, and really do care and will do anything to grow their business. So when they sit down, they've written something profound. Then what?
Make a plan to make it happen. Well, this stuff is simple. It's not always easy because obviously it's easy to make a plan to get to the moon. The difficult bit comes in building the rocket because there's a lot of work involved, as we've seen. But make a plan, because if you don't make a plan, the chance of you reaching your goal are almost zero. No, not Jim Rohn. Earl Nightingale used to liken it to captain of a ship. Your life is your ship, and you are the captain of it. Now, when a captain of a ship, when his ship leaves port for the next port, he knows where he's going. He might not actually know how to get there straight away. He won't have to consult charts, navigation, right? But he knows where he's going. He has a destination in mind. And then when he's at a destination in mind, he will probably file what's the equivalent in ships of a flight plan, a ship plan, a sailing plan. And he may have places he goes on the way. And then maybe they have to take detours because of storms and shoals and places like the Suez Canal where they don't want to get bombed and shit like that, But he knows where he's going. And that's important because there are thousands of tens of thousands. In fact, there's an infinitely long coastline on planet Earth if you take the fractal view of it. Okay. But there are precious few ports and safe harbors. So if you just let your ship randomly fucking float around the ocean, the chances of you fetching up on a rocky shore are vastly greater than you fetching up in a safe harbor. And certainly in a safe harbor that you intend to get to, you'd like to get to. And so how do you ensure you get to a safe harbor or the port you want to get to? Well, you have a plan. And that plan means taking steps in the right direction, bearing in mind you might need to change direction occasionally and take detours. But just meandering along thinking, we'll get there one day, is very unlikely. Well, yeah, you could technically. end up at the right port at the right time because the winds have been favourable. But it's highly unlikely, isn't it? Well, your life is like that ship. If your life and your business, if you just let them drift, and most people do, okay, and even when they think they're not, because they're getting up and doing a job, running their business. If you look at how they post on LinkedIn, they're not, they're drifting. Because what they're doing is they are responding to the world as it's treating them. They are not being paid, so they're complaining about it rather than putting things in place to ensure they do get paid. Now, they're reactive rather than active. They measure lag indicators instead of lead indicators, knowing what works and doing more of that. They just see what happens and respond to it. You know, you'll probably get through life like that, and your business may even survive, because a lot of them do. But you won't flourish, you won't thrive, and you probably won't be very fucking happy. And you almost certainly won't be any better off, and almost certainly will be worse off in a year's time than you are now. So make a plan. Find out what your life and business should be like in your ideal world, your miracle question answer. And then say, okay, this is what I would really like. I'd be really happy if my wife was like this. I've just said so. So what do I need to do? What steps do I need to take to move towards that? And if you tell me, and some people do, I've got no fucking idea. Well, guess what? Your first thing is to figure out, how do I make this plan? What do I need to do what I need to do? What do I need to learn so I can make this plan? Anyway, and it might seem like an unclimbable mountain, but it isn't. Any mountain's climbable. You know what you got to do? You just got to keep putting one step up, one step up, one step up, and eventually you'll get to the top. But what won't work is sitting at the bottom of the mountain, looking up, thinking, I can't climb that. I can't get there.
Wise words. I wrote an article about that, I think, for back in the day, just simply saying, if you're stranded in an island and you can see a bunch of islands and you want to get to one, you have to choose where you want to go, and you got to build a bridge, and each skill that you learn is essentially a brick in the right direction for you to cross the choppy waters. And that's the way you got to look at it. And sometimes there's holes in your bridge, and you've got to work really hard to patch those holes up. I can't remember if this is even a quote, but I know there's a quote: if you have no plan, you plan to fail. But there's another one, and I can't remember it exactly, but it's along the lines of, if you don't have a plan, you'll become part of someone else's. And that's incredibly true. There's a case in point. In core control, I hold something called open office hours, and it's any client can just drop in and out as they like, have a chat with me. It's not as busy as the community call, so people tend to get a little bit more one-on-one. It's far more casual. And a client came along recently, and he was a bit befuddled. He was like, God, I'm being asked to do all of this work. I'm being pulled from pillar to post, and I don't know quite what to do. I'm being offered all of this opportunity, but I feel like I have no control. And the first question I asked was, well, what was the answer to your miracle question?
Didn't do it.
And he told me. No, he told me. And I said, now, having told me about your miracle question, what do you think you should do with these opportunities? He was like, well, I know now straight away I'm going to turn down that one, and I'm only going to do this one based on these these criteria that they have to meet. And all of a sudden, he went from clueless, feeling helpless, being pulled from pillar to post, to having a very clear, concise action plan in a microcosm of business.
We talked about this yesterday on the community call, and it's pertinent to this, and it's also pertinent to our 2024 in the redeveloped Core Control 2.0, and what we're doing in Elite and Boardroom. There's a thing called SLAM, the Stoic Leadership and Attitude Model I developed about 18 months ago, and we revisited it recently. Now, it's about leadership. Now, most people now will switch off at this point and think, oh, not me. I've only got a one-man band. Don't need leadership. You do. Yeah, you are first and foremost the captain of your ship. And even if you're the only one on your ship, you are then the leader on that ship. You're a leader to yourself in your own life. If you've got kids, you are certainly a leader to your children. If you've got a spouse, there will be times when you are, or certainly should be, a leader to your spouse. That may change. Maybe you're a leader all the time. Doesn't really matter. That's a personal choice you both make. Maybe you have to be a leader to your parents if they're infirm and elderly. Wider, you may be a leader in your wider extended family, maybe in your community. Who knows? Certainly, if you run a business, even if it's only you are the leader of that business. If you have employees, guess what? You're a leader in that business. As you get bigger and more authoritative, you can become a leader. Well, you need to be a leader to your clients and your prospects, but maybe you become a leader in your industry too. You have your peers look to you for leadership and direction. They panic and run around in circles, pulling their hair out, whereas you have an idea of how to get out the mire, the recession, war in Gaza, the effects of that, all that kind of thing. So leadership works right at the bottom all the way to the top, from the lowliest fucking person who's got no job and is looking for a job maybe, all the way up to, say, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. Leadership. We've got a model. I've got a model, SLAM, Stoic Leadership and Attitude Model. And it's basically something we're focusing on in the next year to really drill into the business, get it in the business, because it will help people take these steps and get to these places, because planning and focus and action are fundamental parts of the model. But you know what? The model starts with what core control also starts with. What does my fucking perfect life look like? How would I know? This isn't the wake up to your perfect morning, freshly squeezed orange juice in a sunny kitchen with a beautiful wife kind of answer. They're all external. This is, how will I know my life is perfect? And the SLAM, along with core control, will give you the tools to get there. But it all starts with that question. Don't ask the question. Don't answer the question. Well, you're kind of fucking drifting. And with that, we need to finish them, man. Yeah, well, go and buy the book, wellfedbusiness.com/book, BOOK. Buy the book. It's 20 quid plus shipping, for fuck's sake. I think you get a double your money back guarantee if you don't like it. You get access to the Well Fed Renegades area, loads of free resources, yada, yada, yada. Do it. Honestly, it's the best book you'll ever fucking read on business and sales. My dog told me so. With that in mind, see you all later. Bye.